Welcome to Children Change Podcast. I'm Josh, my brother Rob. Today we have a special guest. She's a nurse, a mother, a bikini competitor. There's a moment in her life where she's looking out to the balcony and all she heard was, "Be still." Amanda, it's a pleasure.
Hi, thank you.
Glad to have you on.
Nice to be here.
Rob and I are excited to hear your story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you just give us just a small taste before we get into the Be Still? I know that was huge in the outline. So just kind of reference that just a little bit.
Just a little summary.
Yeah,
of
just
it.
a
Who
little
you
summary.
are, where you're from, kind of give us a little bit of idea who you are.
Definitely. So the moment was in 2021. It was a couple of years after leaving an 8-year-long relationship. And that initially was the moment that was the first spark of change for me because, you know, anytime something like that ends, we have a choice to either, you know, place the blame on somebody, even if you might have feel like maybe you were done wrong or something like that. But I chose to take accountability for why I was there, for my own patterns, and how did I find myself in that situation. So long story short, I had started my healing journey with that and identifying all my patterns. And so then 2 years later, this is still kind of in the middle of COVID and after working through that, and I'm sitting on my balcony praying and meditating. And I just felt this urge to look around at my environment and what is the environment doing? What is the environment telling me? And everything was very calm. There was no wind. The birds were just sitting still, but no noise. And I heard in my spirit, "Be still."
Mm.
Give me an idea. So, I mean, I'm glad we got right into it, but are you from here?
I am from
Born and
here. I
raised
was
in-
born and raised in New Mexico, in Albuquerque and Bernalillo.
Both parents?
Grew up in Bernalillo, yes.
Two-parent home. That's nice.
Yes,
I
yes,
think, right?
definitely.
It's good parents.
Great parents.
Awesome.
Great, yeah.
You had a brother?
I did. So I grew up with both parents in the home. My brother had Down syndrome. And so he definitely was someone that shaped me a lot. Whether it's learning patience, you know, they have their own needs and that type of thing, and becoming a caregiver. And I think that sparked my interest in nursing later on down the line.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you do any sports growing up?
No, I was not an athletic type of kid. I was very much more of a creative type.
Okay.
So I loved music, so I joined band. I loved art, so I took classes like fashion and drafting, and I came very close to pursuing architectural drafting, engineering.
What did your early adulthood look like? You're 18, you graduated from, you said Bernalillo?
From Bernalillo.
Spartans? That's
Yes.
you from? Nice.
Yes.
And then from there, what was the next phase of your life? You're 18, 19. What did you do?
Yeah. At that time, I had aspirations to be a writer, and my big dream was to move to New York
Sick.
and become a writer. And I had this vision of sitting in a brownstone in the bay window writing, you know. But life happens, and it was actually just a year prior to that my brother passed away.
I'm sorry to hear.
And thank you. And so, kind of being that close knit family, and you know, I always try to think of others, and I even just kind of felt guilt over leaving. You know, I was kind of the only kid. Well, I was the only kid that my parents had left, and so I decided to stay. And I knew that we were all kind of still in that grieving. We were all still mourning. So instead, I knew that I also loved the science behind nursing. I was very much fascinated by it and enjoyed taking care of other people. So I decided to enroll and become a medical assistant, a certified medical assistant. My thought was, I want to work while I go to school. And so I worked as a medical assistant to get experience in the medical field while pursuing my nursing degree.
Nice.
Nice.
I want to back up just a little bit because I know looking through the outline, there was one big lie in your childhood, right? And that's not I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And you want to explain a little bit on that and how that's kind of played a role leading up to today.
Definitely, yes. It took a lot of reflection to realize that was the lie that I had begun to believe. And I traced it back to early childhood, and not that it was this big traumatic experience or that it made my father a bad father. As a matter of fact, he was a great father. I have fond memories of him. But now as an adult, I kind of understand some of the stresses that he had. He was in law enforcement, and I think he carried a lot on his shoulders. And when I reached a certain age, maybe it was that maybe I wasn't too little anymore. I was kind of on the verge of a teenager, and I was always, dad, I want to talk to him about this and I want to share things with him. And he really just kind of, you could tell he wanted his alone time. He just needed to be alone. He didn't want to talk to anybody, and that kind of thing. And I got the hint pretty quickly. So I think over the years and just the older I got, the more distant it grew. And later on, I realized that in relationships later on, that would be why I got in some of the relationships I did, because you were searching for
Trying
that
to feel that void, kind of.
void and that validation. And
Yeah, I get it though, because I can relate. Even like with me, like I don't know what you know about me or anything, but owning a business for the last 10 years, entrepreneurship, working hard is on my mind, and like of course coming home, my family is on there, and it's important to me. But I feel like the simplicity of like I'm gonna take my kids out, we're gonna kick the ball around. Like I don't have as much time, so for me, I'm like the time I have, if it's resting, if it's planning for the next day, whatever. I know I've caught myself like not shunning my kids, but definitely being like, oh well, they're not ready to hear what I have to say. Like when they get a little older, then I'm gonna tap in. And I think I've said that for a lot of years. Like when they get to a certain age, then we'll have a relationship. Well,
right.
Now my daughter's 13, and I'm like, well, sometimes she's like, hey dad, can I work with you? I'm like, yeah. And some weeks we don't even talk about stuff like that. So I know like for my wife and her, they're very close, and my wife knows everything that my daughter says. I can't say that I have the same relationship. So I can relate to your dad in those ways. Trying to break that curse, right? Like you one, it's understanding that it's a problem. Second, trying to figure out how to fill that void. And then I don't know how your dad grew up, but I grew up with tough love. I didn't grow up with loving, caring parents. All I know is tough love. So all I give is tough love. Right. Not that I mean to, but it's just all I know.
Yeah.
So maybe just hearing about your dad, I can definitely relate to that a lot, and I'm hoping that I can change it before it's too late. So then, like that situation of finding a relationship to fill the void of the love you didn't have, that'll always be something that people will chase,
Definitely. And you hit on something there. It was something during my healing and all my inner work where you have to look at the people that are in your lives, and maybe there was hurt caused, and it's not intentional, but there are things that are more deeply rooted with them in the way that they grew up, and that's what they know, and understanding that.
Especially when two parents are super opposite.
Yeah.
Like my wife raised totally different than I was. So we definitely have our battles when it comes to the way we were raised.
Right.
So our parenting strategies are a lot different too.
I think back to like once you start to become mature enough and you realize like what that person or your parents went through, it's almost that sense of maturity where you're able to forgive them, right? Because now when you're starting to see the patterns within yourself, and you're like, okay, well maybe this is what my dad was going through.
But that could be age 30, 35, 40.
Sure. For me it was age 27. Like I grew up and I had these strong ill will feelings towards my mom, and then I kind of sat back and I realized, and I was like, dang, well maybe my mom didn't feel hurt like I wasn't hurt, and like she just didn't know how to deal with it like I did.
Or she didn't know she was hurting you the way you were being hurt.
She didn't have enough courage to be like, I need to go to counseling, I need to get help,
it was very frowned upon. I mean, I don't know, how old are you?
42.
42. Okay, cool. So around the same age. It's very frowned upon at our age and our parents to have that kind of vulnerability to like seek marriage counseling. They just split up.
The generations are different.
They did. They didn't seek counseling. They didn't seek help. There was no self-taught books. They were around, but they weren't a resource that people used.
I think there was a stigma around.
It was for 100%.
So
well, if you did counseling, you had an issue. If it was an education and you had learning disabilities, they're not smart enough. Like it's one of those kids.
They're dumb, like
versus like now it's like everything is welcome. Like you can have a problem, go to counseling, everybody can understand, you can talk about it. When we grew up, you couldn't do that. Like you had to be cool, like you had to be one of the cool kids, and if you weren't one of the cool kids, you were trying to be one of the cool kids,
right?
And if you weren't one of the cool kids, you just shut up because you didn't want to get teased. So it's
Exactly.
like it was I'll be 39 this year, so I can relate. Like it was a different time for sure.
Yeah.
No social media, we didn't have the phone and people to give us affirmation online to fill the void of other relationships. It was like either you figured it out or you spent a lot of time alone and you thought a lot to yourself.
Or to even relate to other people, right?
No,
I
you didn't even
imagine
know
the
that. Yeah,
isolation
you
where
thought it was
it's
just you. Yeah, you
And
thought
then
it was
you
just
see
you.
problem and
I'm
you
just
see,
I'm just
a
not
lot
good
of people
enough.
are
Yeah,
going
I'm
through
just
this.
not good enough. Instead
Yeah.
of like, oh, my friends go through that too. And when you didn't hang out with your friends, you didn't have those deep rooted talks. It
You
was
didn't care to have those thoughts. That was your
No.
escape. To
the only
just,
time
right?
the only time
Right.
I would see differences is when I go to friends' houses. Like this was a sleepover era. Maybe it still is. I don't know,
No,
but
it's not.
no. So it was an era where like, hey, can so and so sleep over? And you take your bag, your stuff, and you sleep at someone's house, and you're like, wait, the mom like that was nice of them. Like they have two parents. Like they do things different here. I remember going to like a friend's house and being like, this is weird. Like I'm kind of used to my little bubble, me and my mom. It's just us. She does her, I do me. Now it's like family dinners and they pray together, they eat together and they watch movies together. It was almost like a love that I'd never experienced. And it was more uncommon than feeling like, I don't know, like the only time I realized that things were different was when I would stay at people's houses and seeing how their environment was.
Maybe
You
some
know,
contrast. Yeah.
but just now looking back, I see that in that moment, I can tell. I'm like, oh, cool. They make better food than we do at home. So I want to stay over again. Can I stay one more night, please?
Right.
Because it was a good
But they have the
experience.
good snacks.
They do, yeah, good snacks. Or the mom's super
to
loving, the dad's super chill. They have, more video games or whatever it was. Like
Yeah.
I would always remember taking that second call. Like, can I stay one more day, please? Or can you do me a favor and don't pick me up as late as you can? And my mom was like, dude, like, I already let you go once. Like, stop taking advantage. But I was having fun because my mom worked 2 jobs. She was never home. She provided, she put food on the table. I'm not saying that, but I didn't have a loving mom at home 24/7. It was, did you do your stuff? Is your stuff clean? Your room clean? All right, I'll see you tomorrow. You need some money? Here's some lunch money. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after let's get back on track.
My bad.
No, you're fine. No, I mean it's all good stuff. After your brother passed away, on here, like I guess kind of go back to the balcony a little bit. Where were you at there? What's transpired in between there?
What age was that?
Ooh, 35-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
35,
quite a bit.
36.
So trying to find the gap. So
Maybe
18.
36.
Your brother was, I'm assuming under 18 when he passed
When
away?
he passed away, he was 19 and I was 17.
And you were 17? Oh, so he was older? So what is 17 to 35? Finally figuring yourself out? Did you have-
Yeah, I stumbled a lot. I really did. And it kind of goes back to
Me
what
too.
you're talking about,
Me
talking
too.
to your kids, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think at this age, not to get too much on that, but what I did with my daughter was she wasn't too young. We talked about everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I wished I had more of that guidance. And again, there's nothing, there's no ill feelings about that. Again, it's a generational thing, that
is.
they don't talk about things. And so I stumbled through life a lot. I did, I started the medical certification program, or the medical assistant program, and then started nursing school, got into a relationship. And for me, that was always the center, right? There was always a guy at the center of my life at the time. If I met somebody, it was, now I had to mold myself. Not that I thought that way, but I found
To
in
be like him.
retrospect that I was to be liked by him, right? To be to get that attention, to make that person. Everything was about making that other person happy, and a lot of it was at my expense, sacrificing
Oh, yeah.
my
Your s-
career, my time,
your
my dreams,
standards.
what I wanted to do, in order to encourage that person and support that person and be there for them. And so in those decisions, then I would start and stop and get in this relationship. And then I was self-employed for some time and making really good money. And that was one reason why I stopped nursing school for a bit. I was like, I can make $2,000 in a day.
For
I
sure.
don't need to do this.
Yeah.
And so that was another reason why too. But again, not really the guidance there to say, well, but still stick with school, or, don't drop it.
We'll have a plan for
Have
money
a
you're making.
real set plan rather than just kind of going on a whim with whatever next thing
Or-
comes along. Yeah, but there was I don't have any regrets over that, because every single piece, every single experience is definitely a lesson that I learned. It's something I can reflect back on, and it's made me who I am today.
It's all part of your story,
Yeah, that's
which is
awesome.
which is the beautiful thing that people can look back and be like, okay, what did this teach you? What was the
Yeah.
teaching moment in this moment? And I feel like that's what a lot of people don't do. They don't sit back and they don't reflect, right? And they don't be like, okay, what am I learning right now? And it's more so, it's like, okay, why me? Why is this happening?
Or it's like, why did I waste all this time? And I could like, I'll catch myself at 38 being like, dang, like if I would have started this when I was 25, and I'm like, wait, I wasn't even mentally ready for any of this. And like,
Yeah.
I'm acting like I could have handled it and doubled it at this age. In a sense, at 25, you would have given me any of that success. I would have self-sabotaged. Like God
Right.
knew what he was doing by showing me failures and little things
Yes.
versus giving me the abundance of like he has now as an adult, where I understand how to be obedient to certain things. So I think we have to just appreciate that and not look back and be like, dang, like wasted all this time and I could have, been working out 10 years ago. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Like maybe there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And
And
you're
then you
just-
realize okay, now I take what I know,
Right.
I take what I've learned, and I apply that going
And you
forward.
don't use the age to be the reason that you can't do something now. Like
Mm-hmm.
you saying your age and you're competing. I feel like I'm pretty good shape for 38. I don't want any of that to be the reason we stop. Like age is not, I know it's of a number, but if we're healthy, let's push until the
Yes.
wheels fall off.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. How old, you have one daughter?
I do.
How old?
14.
14. So you were, help me out. I'm not good at math.
28.
I'm from Santa Fe.
28.
28 when you had her.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a little older than me for sure, a lot more responsible than I was. So, and Josh, I think,
I was
right?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. He was still a kid.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, my
I think,
first
I
year.
forget, 23, 24, somewhere in there. But 28, how does that change your life, or that moment of having a baby? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that was a big shock. To be honest, it was kind of it was a great surprise. I had known her father for it had maybe been about a month, and we had started dating and whatnot, and we entered into a relationship, and then about a month after, found out pretty quickly, that I was pregnant, and all I remember was the shock of thinking, I'm gonna have a baby. I was thinking of the physical part of it,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I have to give birth.
Yeah, I know it's scary for for
That
the
was
woman
my first
and
thought.
for the mom. Like it's insane. I mean,
Right.
dads act like we're scared, like we do something. We don't do it. I mean, we didn't play a whole lot of part into that. So that's crazy. So
That was my first thought. Yeah.
yeah, and then what was the next thought? Like, okay, I'm gonna bring her into this world. What was the goal? What was processing in your head? For me, I was like, that's when I started my gym journey. I'm like, I got to be the best version of me. Starts now. And I tried to start when my wife was pregnant. I started working out, and I just wanted to show a good role model, a good example. So that was my thought one. That was how I coped with it, I guess.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. It might have been my age. It might have just been my younger age. I didn't have a whole plan. I was working at the time, working kind of in like insurance billing and that type of thing. And so I had a good steady job. And for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this, get through the pregnancy, have her, and then
Mhm.
think about,
The next,
yeah, I at those ages, I was not great at planning things out.
it's crazy how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Crazy how that works. It's 28 years. So you stay with, what was her dad's reaction? He
He was
utterly
happy.
shocked. Oh, nice.
He was happy.
I would have been shocked a month in. I would have been shocked.
Yeah. He
Not
had
in a bad
actually
way, but,
he had been wanting another one. So
That's
it was a
awesome.
good thing. Yeah. He already had a daughter who was 7
Oh, cool.
at the time. And so, and we're still in each other's lives to this
That's
day.
awesome.
She's 22.
That's
now.
super awesome.
Yeah.
So that's good. No, that's good to hear. It's always encouraging when you hear people who are good parents and good dads, because I think a lot of the times people don't get enough credit for the good ones who actually do show up. And maybe not everyone's perfect, but the fact that they're still relevant or still there, it's always a cool story to hear,
Right. Right.
Especially where we're from, it's
True.
very common for a lot of single mothers to they just figure it out on their own because the guys just don't take responsibility. So
Right.
I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
How do you feel being a mom? How do you think that changed you once you held her, once you started just to notice these things?
Definitely.
How did that, like, does maybe that old of I'm not enough, does that start to change because you see the impact you have on your daughter?
I would say it didn't trigger the feelings of not being good enough, but it did trigger anxiety big time. because I had already experienced quite a bit in life. I had already experienced, the death of a brother and a couple of abusive relationships already prior to that. And it was this protective nature that kicks in, and you feel like you need to protect them from everything.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And the worry and the anxiety, I don't want them to get hurt, and what if this happens? Your mind just turns into a bunch of what ifs all the time. At least mine did.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, because I don't know why. When I had my daughters, I had 3 daughters first. I was pretty chill about it. Was like, all right, girls, we're here. Um, Kind of whenever my oldest daughter, she became like 4. That's whenever I started like my childhood replayed, because I was like, dang, like this is like not easy, but this is easy. Like this is like, it's easy to be a parent. Like you just got to show up every day. Like,
Right.
so for me, it was like, okay, well, how come my mom couldn't show up for me? Like this is not that complicated, you know?
Right.
So that definitely played a trigger with me, but it wasn't until I found out I was having my son. He's 8 now, but I don't know what that did. I don't know what it was about a boy that just like, it threw me off.
Really?
And for like the first 6 months, like I didn't really have like a relation. I mean, my wife breastfed him, so he didn't want nothing to do with me.
Right.
But I don't know what it was. Like he didn't want me. Like I was kind of like timid of him. Like I don't know why. And then one weekend I was left alone with him for a weekend, and after that he was stuck by my hip the whole time.
That's awesome.
And now we're inseparable.
Yeah.
But those first 6 to 8 months were just like, I don't know, like I was scared. Like and I think it was not to be anything like to say anything bad towards my dad, but I didn't want to be my dad. I didn't not want to be my dad. That was my biggest fear growing up, was, again, not that my dad's a bad guy, but I didn't agree with his
Yeah.
parenting, and that was probably my biggest fear, especially with my boy. And now we're best friends. He tells me everything. We talk about Pokemon and
Yeah.
everything else under the sun. So
I think it's probably normal to, and maybe for our generations to reflect on, I think that our parents did the same thing, but maybe not with the same amount of awareness to actually change
That's true.
and break those cycles. Maybe they were aware, but didn't know how to do it differently.
exactly.
And I think our generation going forward took that initiative of not only being able to recognize and reflect on maybe the mistakes our parents
think the
made,
biggest
rather
thing
than
was-
saying they're bad people, but just
Yeah.
their
I
mistakes.
know. I totally.
And then
agree.
do them differently.
Yeah.
Well, look at the things the parents would say, like, this is how it is. That's how our family was raised. I remember for me that my dad would be like, well, it's just how your Martinez family is. I'm like, oh, I guess that's how we are. Like,
Yeah,
all these excuses of like, it's just what it is. Versus now, like she said, you can identify the problem, and even if you don't change, you can see where the issue is, and hopefully, in due time, you can figure out how to kind of mold that relationship, but that's so true. And I guess I haven't really thought about it, because I don't talk to a lot of people my age. A lot of people I'm around are younger, so I'm kind of like schooling them on things that I'm a hybrid of being older and then being younger. So I feel like I stay more in the younger language. So to talk to someone more my age, it's making me think of a lot more things that I haven't never really identified before. Because even him and I, we're 4 or 5 years apart.
4.
I mean, there's a close gap, but that's still a long time. I think it's a good conversation, because you're really making me think about differently about a lot of things that I never addressed, because I thought it was other stuff. There just wasn't a way. It wasn't a reason that they were thinking about it.
Yeah.
A lot of things a lot of relationships could have been saved, could have been healed. And I think that's why parents from that era are a lot better grandparents, because they see the mistake and they'll be like, dang, they're great grandparents, but they weren't as good parents, because they now know, like, I could have done this differently. I didn't have to be that. I didn't have to be hard on them, as hard on them.
I think that's the greatest apology, is like, yeah, what happened between us is
Kinda.
cool, but just give my kids what I didn't have. Like
Yeah.
and I know that was the biggest thing between me and my mom. Like my mom was like, I'm sorry, and I said, you know what, it's fine. Like we're okay. Like just be the grandparent I know you can be, because I know that's the mother you can be. Ultimately, it just hasn't happened that way. But I feel like for me that was that was the best apology. Like,
Right.
just love my kids the way I know you.
And I don't think I want that to be like, I don't think I want that. No, like if you couldn't love me the way I should have been loved, then I'll be the parent that does it for my kids. And
Oh, for
I don't want to
sure.
rely on grandparents to do that. So
On-
like, well, in a sense, my dad's not around. He passed away when I was 19, but like my mom's around and she could be a great grandmom, but, our kids aren't around her a whole lot, not for any specific reasons. Just my kids have good parents. So I don't feel like I have to be like, here, mom, make it up and, be a good grandma because you weren't present as a mom to me. Like, no, I don't want to do it that
That's
way.
not what I meant.
But I understand the perspective,
I think I know what
and you're
both
right.
saying though, and you're saying,
Yeah.
I parent a lot. I parent very similarly, where it's my duty.
Yes,
yeah,
to
for
be
sure.
the
And very
primary
protective of their
But I
peace.
also think what you're saying is, the more love your kids can have, the better.
For
right?
sure.
That time that
greater
you
than
do
network.
have
For sure.
together.
My concern is
Yeah.
that even if a slight thing comes up of how she parented me affects them, and then I have to erase that because I've already
Yeah.
programmed a certain way, and that's kind of why it's
Having
like
to undo things.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
and it's not a bad thing. It's just, like there's a different culture. I don't know. Yeah, there is. From Santa Fe to Albuquerque is a way different culture. The way people think, the way they act, the way they react. My brother's funeral was this week and we all went down there and all of us being around a bunch of people from Santa Fe, like they're all great people, but there's just a different vibe, a very still life, still thinking broke, still thinking out of shape, still poor victim mentality. And I'm like, dude, I'm nothing like these people. Like I can be related to them, know them my whole life, but I am nothing like them. And I'm not better than them, but I decided to change my life. And I'm going to own that. Like I'm going to keep that standard because I worked my butt off to get to this point. I don't want to go backwards and talk the language of like, oh, same old, same old. That's not how I feel. Like I bust my butt every single day. It's progress in life, not work. It's just progress in the kingdom of life. So
All 4 pillars.
I noticed it a lot even at the funeral, even when I did the sermon and I spoke about legacy. And I imagine some people were just like blown away. Like I've never heard a sermon like that versus like, oh, he was a good person and whoa, heavily missed. That's like the basic stuff. People already hear that. For me, I'm like, come back to God, make the wrongs right, love harder. They're probably like, what? Like this guy a pastor? You know what I mean?
Because again, what can you learn from this, right? Even
Yes.
losing our loved ones is a
You can
learning
learn.
experience because we reflect back on
Yes.
maybe what we wanted to do differently with our time with them.
What
I
did,
think. Well,
no, go.
no. I was just.
I was just saying, what did you think from your perspective? Not to go deep into that sermon, but what did you think? What was different about it than sermons you've heard in the past, from your perspective?
I mean, you mean like eulogies?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I said sermon. I meant
Yeah.
eulogy. It was more like a sermon.
It's like a recap of their life, and this was his favorite food, and this was this,
Yeah.
which I mean, that's all great. Like I mean, you kind of get those memories of people, but it's really like you said, sometimes those moments happen, and what is that moment teaching us, or what can we take away from that person's moment? How to build a legacy? What kind of legacy did they leave? Unfortunately, your brother was so young.
Right.
He was barely getting his life started, so he didn't really have he didn't have like a great legacy that could be like this. But okay, so let's pivot then. It's time now. Day one is now.
Right.
Day one is to start your legacy now, whether you're 19 or you're 42, like
Yep.
somewhere where you're lost, it's time to start that legacy. And that was the moment, or that was the main focus I got from yours. Go back to God, make everything right, even if it's not receptive on the other end. At least you tried.
Yeah.
At least you gave it something. If it's not receptive, there's nothing you can do. You can only control what you can
do.
control.
Do you think the engagement from the audience, like they understood it? When it's different, you're the one telling it. You're kind of blank faced. It's like you're on stage, but you're kind of curious, like, what did it look like when I was on stage? Because you're up there, like, don't mess up, do your routine, whatever. When you're up there reading, you're just like, I'm gonna say what I gotta say.
Yeah.
I am looking up, I'm paying attention, but not specifically.
I wasn't really looking around. Like,
No?
like I wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and I think for me, like we're around each other every
Yeah, you
single
hear me
day,
talk all the time.
So I'm like, this is like, I mean, obviously everything he says is always good.
But it's the same.
But,
It's the same.
but I'm like, okay, like this is Rob. Like this is Rob. Like there's no difference, And people might have been like, oh, he was just fired up for his brother. Like no, that
Yeah.
that
That's
is
his
Rob.
mentality.
That's Rob every single day.
Yeah.
At 4:00 in the morning on the walk, 7 o'clock at the gym to 9 o'clock at night conversation. So
I mean, you have to live your life. We all have these moments, and that's why we come together and do this podcast of there's a chosen to change, but then that moment happened. Well, there's another moment in your life where you have to elevate even higher for God, for yourself, for the legacy that you want to leave behind. It's amazing that something had to happen to us for us to change. But what now? Can't be the only story we have.
Right.
And mine, like yours, like his, it's one small defining chapter, because we're going to have so many more that we don't account for. And we're going to try to go back to that one moment. And when all the other moments keep happening, what do? Recreate the wheel every single time and reinvent ourselves? No, let's stay in the game. Like, God, I'm ready for whatever it is you've determined in my life. If it's taking people, if it's whatever, like I'm going to be ready to accept that you have my best interest, and I'll figure it out.
Exactly.
So that's kind of my mindset. For
So that's what I wanted to get into, because that was kind of in your moment too, right? Where you had that chosen change moment. I want to get into that. What was that true chosen change moment? But there was also something that you wrote in there where you said you had to put in the work. So next I want to pivot to your chosen to change moment. What was that moment? And I know, like Rob just talked about, you have to put in the work, right?
Right.
And this goes back to our last episode. You have to surrender, but surrender with urgency, meaning you have to do something about it.
Right.
So what was that chosen to change moment where you're like, change has to happen?
Right.
And then what was the next step? What did that change look like?
Yeah, definitely. And it was that balcony moment in prayer and meditation. And when I heard or felt that voice that said, "Be still," it was a moment for me to receive, rather than a lot of times we pray God this and God that, and we're telling him all of our problems. But sometimes we need to just be quiet and listen and actually receive. Let our spirit be calm and still so we can actually receive. And I did. I started to receive his messages and his word. And in that moment, the things I had been reflecting on were, I was so highly stressed working as a nurse during COVID. And it was the,
Let me imagine.
yeah, and already prior to that, my work life was always on the go. You're working full time in the hospital. You have to take call on nights. You have to be on call on weekends, be on call during the holidays. And so part of that is, I don't think I had a vacation in like 7 years or something crazy like that, and it was very hard to even just get one day off. Even sometimes to get off an hour early just to pick up your kiddo's sick at school or something like that.
I gotta go.
You can't get
Yeah.
away, especially procedural nursing. You're in a procedure. You can't just, I gotta go.
My sister works for UNM pediatric surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's the same way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm on call.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
so and this wasn't COVID, so I could only imagine what it was like
Yeah.
for COVID. And
Yeah, so it had already been busy like that prior to, and then COVID was just a whole lot of chaos. You're working here, you're working there, then you don't know if you're working, and everything's always changing. My hair was literally falling out from stress and that type of thing. And so this was a lot of what I had surrendered to him, in that moment. That's a lot of what I was praying and reflecting about, is my life right now. Money was great, but if you're not living,
money, yeah.
And so in that moment, I was still, and I saw a vision, and actually my eyes were open. It was just in my mind's eye. I saw the vision of an ostrich, how they put their head in the sand. And at the same time that I saw that, I heard in my spirit, "This is how you've been living." Because I'm very passionate about nursing. I'm one of those nurses that I really care about what I do. I care about doing it right. I care about actually helping the people that I'm treating or looking after. Yeah. And so right after seeing that vision and then hearing that in my spirit, this is how you've been living, right? I saw my life kind of replay from start to finish. My childhood was great, but all of the patterns I had identified previously in healing, all of those came about whether it was my brother's passing, abusive relationships, the assaults I had been through, the stumbling I had been through at the times, all of it, that I felt like God really helped me overcome.
Do you feel like it was harder to relive those moments?
No, actually,
No?
it was more of just a God kind of putting them in front of my face and saying, you went through these for a reason. And that's what I
That's
actually heard in my
how much.
spirit
Ah,
was,
okay, got it.
you went through those things to share, to use it,
Yeah.
share it,
Yes.
and help other
Use your
people.
message. Use your message.
Exactly. Use your story, use your experience, and help other people through their hardships.
Is that you feel like that was the first time you ever heard God's like voice? Or
Ooh.
felt that in the moment? Because we have this big thing, right, where it says, if God's calling you, do you know his voice?
Right.
Because God
Right.
can call you, but if you don't sit with him, and sometimes all we do is talk, right? We just talk to God. We talk and hey, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. I need this, I need that.
Yeah.
But we don't really sit back and be like, what do you have for me?
Right.
Like, how are you trying to use me today? And allow him to speak. So like, again, like, did you know his voice prior to that?
Prior to, not in that way.
Yeah.
Early in my 20s, I grew up Catholic and I had converted to Pentecostal Christian. And so in my times of grief, grieving my brother and a lot of it was just going to God with my pain and with my suffering, but it was a lot of that. So throughout my life, I always turned to God in my situations, but I think that was the first time that I really just shut up and let him speak.
It's hard. One, I feel like Catholics were not really taught to like, or we weren't really taught, because I'll grow up Catholic too. We're taught just to kind of like, this is how you pray, right? Like this, like, it's very structured.
Yes.
This is how you do it. This is the only way to do it. And there's no other way to do it. Our Father, Hail Mary, you know what I mean? Like, like this is how you do it. But now that I went back to my faith, now that I'm a Christian, like, I've learned just, good morning, how are you today? Like,
a real relationship.
Yeah, like, how are you going to use me today? However you need to use me today, like, I'm excited for. Or even, hey, I'm struggling right now in this moment. What do I need? Like, show me what the right direction is. And it's like, I speak to some of my family and I'm like, yeah, you guys are very religious, but you guys have a relationship. Like, do you
listen as
listen?
well?
Yeah.
You talk a lot, but do you actually receive?
You really tell him what your problems are, instead of like, our Father, you know what I mean? Like, all that stuff.
And do you
like,
surrender?
And that's nothing against Catholics, but I just feel like it's so old school.
Yeah.
And it's now, I went back to church 2 years ago. I got baptized in November. Or October, one of those two. It's been so long. But now the relationship that I built, and it's just like, sometimes I don't even pray about like, I need this. It's more so like, I'll see someone and I'm like, man, thank you. Like, cause it's like, I could have it, like, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. Like, I go through a lot of things. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. Like, my life can always be worse. Like, things can always be harder.
Right.
So it's like, thank you for allowing me to stand up today. Like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, breathe. Like, it's the small things I think we take for granted, because we can take 2 bad things and just run with it.
Right.
Even though we have 100 good things in front of our face. Like,
the perspective that he gives you is amazing. I remember at one point I was, the regular life stuff that we go through, whether it's a hardship comes up, an unexpected expense, and we're stressed out. And I remember thinking to myself, and I don't know, maybe it was just being in communion with God or whatnot, but I think he puts a lot of things in your spirit. He gives you perspective a lot of times, right? And I remember I was telling a friend of mine, you know what? I think I need to just be grateful, because if I went to the homeless person down the street and told them my problems, they would probably laugh at me,
What?
So it's all perspective for sure.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm trying hard to change the perspective, I mean, and it's hard. It's hard not to be like, but poor me, like, look at me, like,
right.
So, but I think that's that's building that relationship. That's surrendering. That's giving it to him. And there's been times where I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know what the next step is. I have no clue, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to you, but I'm gonna put in the work.
Right.
Like, and I know if I put in the work, like we have 4 pillars, right? And it's family, faith, fitness, finance, and it's the finance comes last, because you put in the work into the top 3, the finances will all fall in place.
Right. It's gonna flow.
And that's been our biggest thing at 1GM is, those 4 pillars,
Yeah.
the 4 F's. And, but it's also surrendering with urgency. Okay, I'm going to give this to you, but I'm going to put in the work.
Right.
Because you can say all the prayers you want.
Right.
You can do anything you want. But
But
if
you
you
have
don't
to
put in the
act.
work, nothing's going to happen. That's
You
just
have
like,
to act.
I'm going to be a millionaire one day. I'm going to hit the lottery. But if you don't play the lottery, how are you going to become a millionaire?
Exactly.
So-
Yeah. And I think that was my first experience with like saying, actually kind of receiving his messages. But then from there, learning how to act, I feel like those were my lessons going forward, learning how to actually act in faith, because I believe faith is an action. Faith is, that's how we show God what our faith is, because we can sit and pray and go, God, please give me this, please, restore my health, please heal me. And then you kind of just sit there, okay, I'm going to hope and wait for it to happen. And what I believe about that is you're comfortable. As long as you're still sitting there waiting on God, that doesn't mean that God can't do that. God can't just change your circumstances. But what that means about your heart posture is you are willing to sit in your comfort
So,
and not leave
yes.
that comfort zone where God wants to see. He wants you to actually have enough faith, because the moment we stand up and go to take a step without knowing where we're going, without knowing what's going to
Look at the
happen
water.
next, exactly, that is a true act in faith. And because we could sit there and go, yeah, but what if going left is wrong? What if going right is the wrong way? And you could sit there in that analysis paralysis, right? Not moving because you're overanalyzing the next step, where God just says, just step. And that's where you have to have faith and trust that when you move, he's going to move with you, and he'll make those paths even if they weren't there.
Yes. My biggest shift was, and it was my mindset. It wasn't really like I did anything. It wasn't like a true step. It was, I went from, because my life was all about the what ifs. And I had to be prepared for everything, right? And the moment that I surrendered, the moment I gave it to him, or I started to, was my what ifs switched to even if.
Yes.
Even if
I read that before.
Even if everything goes bad,
I will be okay.
like it has been. I know he's always built it back for me 10 times more. But I also feel that we don't surrender because it's almost like a safety, right? It's almost our self-sabotage,
Right.
where we're holding it. I would rather screw it up, because at least if I screw it up, it doesn't feel as bad. But if I give it over to someone else, whether it's a relationship, or that's a coworker, a boss, or even to God, right? I can't really control it.
Right. And that's our problem,
I
though,
would rather
thinking we can
the
control
pain. Yes.
everything.
I
And
would
God
rather
is like,
control the pain.
relinquish control.
Yes.
That's what he really wants. He wants you to relinquish control. He wants you to try to relinquish figuring out the outcome and just move, just step. And he's like, here, I've got you. I'm going to catch you.
Figure it
Just jump.
Yeah.
Just make the leap of faith.
And it's also kind of like mind boggling, right? Because sometimes whenever you're walking through the waters, or you're walking through the fire, like, it's hard to be like, oh, the devil's won, right? Like we're walking with him, but little do you know, like, God is just in there, and he's like, no, we are preparing you. Like, but you're also like, well, why would you do this? Like, why put me
you
through
need
this?
practice doing it as well, right?
But those are also not believe. Like, that's
Yeah.
not stepping in your faith,
Right.
Because you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well, why? Oh, why do I keep going through these same patterns? Like, why are these patterns so because you're not learning the message.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
You're not passing the test he's putting in front of you.
Exactly.
There's a reason why us as humans, we hit the same wall. We
'Cause
hit
you
the
keep
same wall. We
repeating.
hit the same
Yeah.
wall. because you just keep repeating the same thing.
You keep giving the same answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's telling you
To the
like,
same
no,
problem.
no.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
I definitely can relate with you on that, where it's just you have to put in the work. You know,
Yeah.
what did putting in the work look like for you? What was that like? What was that next step? Obviously, you saw yourself in, you know, head in the ground. What did it look like the moment you pulled your head up out of the ground and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
what's the
Well,
first step?
the one of the messages I received was, this is not how you're supposed to do it. So obviously the career that I was in, the way in which I was pursuing nursing was not the way that was being impactful and really helping people. And so I knew that's the change that I needed to make. And it can be very difficult to go from bedside nursing or clinical nursing and kind of getting out of that. And even so I created an exit strategy. And how am I going to, it may not have been right out of
Perfect, yeah.
bedside because those opportunities didn't come yet to totally leave bedside. But I did. It was my first jump ever. I like to call it my jump. And I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I knew God wanted me to share my story. So I actually that's when I started making videos on Instagram.
I remember.
And I made my first video, and actually it was so crazy because it had reached people that they weren't following me yet. They actually called me on the Instagram, like the direct,
yeah.
that called me. I needed to hear that. I even had people calling me saying, I was thinking of committing suicide.
Yeah.
And they needed that
It's
message.
like
So it was
those-
instant confirmation,
Yes,
instant
yes,
confirmation.
This is right. This
in
is
sharing my story, because God said, this is not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to share everything that you've been through. And so the minute I started doing that, it was just like this snowball effect of people coming into my life, resources coming into my life. I gave my 2 weeks notice, and I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have a backup job ready to go. I had been looking into travel nursing and created some profiles here and there, but I didn't have anything secured at the moment. And then those 2 weeks where I was going, God, where's the parachute?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, because you're like, okay, am I doing the
know
right
that
thing? Like, yeah.
I made this leap, and I still do trust that you're gonna catch me. But I'm still free falling right now. I know but when is the parachute gonna,
Yeah.
come out? And so 2 weeks later, I actually got a message from a recruiter, and a job just fell in my lap. And it was in Los Alamos, so I didn't have to leave my daughter and be out of state, and I could still be in state and work and get that contract work. And in doing that, I was able to save up money, make investments, and further still take myself out and remove myself a little bit more. And that's when I actually got into business.
So we met 2022, I believe.
It might have been then.
Yeah, it had to be 2022. And I remember it was just, again, it wasn't even nothing like, we didn't know each other. We knew kind of mutual people, but it was
Right.
just like, what's your story?
Yeah.
And we just talked about our stories. I mean,
Yeah.
it just kind of clicked, and it was like, okay, like, I'm doing this, you're doing this. Like this whole episode was been like 3-4
In
years
the works for quite a while. Yeah. But again, everything in God's timing,
it's cool,
right?
you know, like, it's cool to see it happen. It's cool to see the way it's happened. And that's really been, that's why Rob and I made this platform. It was we know there's some things we needed to hear whenever we were going through those moments. And we also know, like, we dealt with them alone, and it's not everyone has to deal with it alone.
Right.
Now we have community. We have, like, you're not alone, right? And it's, all right, let's give people stories. Let's give people hope that people are going through certain things, and someone else has gone through it. Someone else has made it through. So now you can too. You know? Just give people those things that they need to hear, whatever moment it's in.
Yeah. I like to think of it, it's like you come out that darkness and then you become a light. So now you turn around and you go back to show others the way out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy that, just like I said, God gives you the people and the opportunities. And so I feel like us meeting was that we shared our stories,
Yeah.
and the word that I received was about sharing my story. And so bringing people to you to give you the opportunity to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that I kind of had the same thing as you. Like I had a pretty nice job at Comcast. Like I was going through counseling. I was doing my inner work. Like I first started counseling, and I just had that moment where it was like, all right, this just isn't working. Like, quit your job, and you're gonna. Well, I already had the clothing brand then, and it was just like, all right, like it's time. Like, just people hearing my story, they were like, I didn't know. Well, one, a lot of people are like, I didn't know that about you. Like, dang, like that changed my perspective.
Yeah.
But there was the other side where people are like, well, I went through that too. Like, and I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, okay, well, you've given me hope. Like, I see what you're doing in life. And it's crazy how people like social media misconstrues things. I'm like, I'm probably struggling more than you are, you know, like,
Right.
like I'm going
And that's
through it.
where
Like,
being honest
I
is
just
the
have
biggest.
enough,
Yeah.
I just have enough faith that I can speak about my issues, you know,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest thing. Like when I talked to, like, I told someone my story, and I mean, no one as a kid, no one wants to be like, hi, my name is Josh, and my mom's, you know, an addict, and you know, X, Y, and Z at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one wants to do that, but
Right.
it's like, again, because there was no social media, we didn't know that that was even a thing. Like, those are things you're embarrassed of. And I had a conversation with someone, and it was very raw. Like, I didn't really know a lot about my story, but they told me, you need to be on a stage. You need to tell your story. You need to change lives because
Right.
you've been through it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nah, like, you're crazy. But then you kind of go home, and those, they just like, those seeds plant, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, maybe I do have a story. Like, maybe I do need to be a voice, or am a voice. Maybe people
Right.
do want to listen to me.
And it's easy to think that you're not, because sure, we're not celebrities, right? But if you really think about it, who has the biggest impact? Now, people look to celebrities for fashion or for entertainment, right? But in terms of believing what's impossible for them, you can't relate. Because why? They have money, they have success, they have all these resources, right? When you're kind of the average Joe, just like everybody else, and then they see you overcoming things, they see, well, Josh did it.
Yeah, it's
He was
so
in the
much
same
more
exact
impact. Yeah.
situation that I was, and he did it. It really shows, it really gives people hope.
100%. No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that normal person, right? Because it's like, we don't have abundance of money just to fix all of our problems and to make everything go away. You know, like, we really have to go through it. And I think that's been the biggest transparency of just probably the way I live my life is, hey, I struggle just like you do,
Yeah.
you know, but again, I do something, like, I do something about it. You know,
Right.
if I don't like it, we'll throw everything out. We'll start all over again, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
I don't have no problem starting over, but it's because I have faith.
Right.
And because I know that he has my back.
Yeah.
I know anytime I've ever lost everything, he's helped me build it back 10 times
Exactly.
better. And there's those moments where I'm questioning everything, and I'm like, why me? But then it just shifts, and you're just like, quit thinking about why me and why not me.
Right.
What are you teaching me? What are we like?
And you
What are we
embrace,
doing here?
you gain practice in embracing uncertainty. It starts to become where it was something that you avoid initially, like, no, I can't do that. I'm not, I'm too scared. The first time you make that jump, then you go,
Oh,
okay,
it wasn't that bad.
he caught me.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like exposure therapy, right? You do it enough
That's it.
and you show yourself it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think God takes you through those things to show you it's okay. I am trustworthy.
Yeah, I got you.
Trust me, I'm going to catch you. So he catches you the first time and you go, okay. So then the second time and third time and fourth, then it becomes easier to do.
Yeah. I think there's a reason why God made my childhood so hectic and so chaotic. And I think it's because he knew the type of life I was going to live. He was like, if I make it chaotic now, you can survive through everything you're going through in your adulthood.
Right.
And you can break
It
chains.
strengthens you.
You can break chains. You can break the curses. You may not be able to do it all.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if my kids I feel like my ceiling to my life is my kids' floor.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
this is where we start.
Yeah.
These are the basics that we do. And I feel like that's what he's molded me for
Yeah.
sure. Is just here. Like, it's gonna be chaotic. You're not gonna know what you're doing. It's not gonna make sense whatsoever.
Right.
But there's gonna be a moment in time where you're like,
And then it does, and
this
it doesn't
is
make
what-
sense
yeah,
until it
yeah,
does.
Yeah, and you're like, this is what
Yeah.
is what it was. I just think I mean, we kind of just went over through everything, just kind of just talking. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't really
Yeah.
an outline. I know there's some I know you mentioned the just jump.
Mm-hmm.
That was something you put on a t-shirt, right? And that was kind of
That's
something
something.
that
Yeah, that would be that would be my motto.
if you
is
put
just
your
jump.
life on a t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. It makes you think like Nike really had something with saying
Yeah.
just do it, right?
Just do
But just jump.
Yeah.
You know, if you know in your spirit, especially when you receive those messages, when you receive that, you know you've got to do something with that. You know you didn't get that for no reason.
Yeah.
And so then it's up to you to act. It's like God puts the ball in your court. Okay, I've told you. Now here you go.
Now do it.
Now do it.
If not,
You know.
you see
yeah.
the cycle.
Yeah. And sometimes you do. You kind of go this way and okay, well that didn't really work out at this time or that didn't really, you try a couple of different things, but you also realize that in all of those times he still continues to provide.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, what I noticed is sometimes some things you were able or you should have done, he'll circle back around to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, maybe I didn't get this right when I was 25 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but I see it in front of my face now.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about it now?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to learn from our lesson, or are we going to indulge?
Continue the
Yeah.
old patterns, the same patterns. Yeah.
Mhm. And I feel like that's my biggest thing is I'm definitely a self-sabotager. I definitely feel the whole thing of not feeling worthy enough and not feeling like I do enough. So my core wound, I can say, is definitely over providing or over showing my value, over explaining because I want to be heard. I want to be understood. And one thing I've learned, and this is 7 years of counseling, it's you have to look within and you have to figure out what your true self really wants.
Mm-hmm.
What is your true self saying? So it doesn't matter what X, Y, and Z person says. If you can look within and you can be like,
And you're grounded with it.
I know that's not true.
Mhm.
I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I do. I know what I don't do. I know what I need to work on. But as long as I can look within it and I can be okay with, because again, I know what my truth is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what your truth is. And so, but sometimes it's hard though. Like it's hard when you have so much mud you mean thrown in your face, like you know, to keep clearing it off. But
It's definitely hard at first, but I do
Yeah.
also think that you hit a point, and I hit that point maybe, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, because people will talk about you.
Mhm.
The relationships that fall off, the people that come in and out of your life, and then they'll go in behind your back. And, I found out even maybe about last year, somebody that was close to me that was telling people things about me that weren't true. And, well, aren't you upset about that? And I said, no,
I know who I am.
I know the truth.
Yeah.
I don't need to commit. And if anybody else believes it, then they don't need to be in my life either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's the biggest thing I've been working on right now in counseling is just listening to your true self.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you know who your true self is, nothing else matters.
Know your
at
truth.
all.
Know who you are in God.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any reflections? Do you have anything you need to announce? Anything like that? I know there was a big.
Yeah.
You have a big announcement. So.
My announcement is, yes, for people who didn't know, I did a bikini competition, an NPC bikini competition this recent November, and I have my next one coming up in November. And the plan is I'm already qualified to go to a national show on the master's level. So my coach and I got together and I was like, Coach, worst case scenario, I could do a master's nationals. He's like, yeah, that's worst case because we're shooting for the overall. So the overall win. So a show in November and then hopefully follow that right up with a going to nationals.
How do you think that has? How has that shifted your mindset? Because I know, like, I mean, I obviously saw your progress, and I seen, just I was like, oh, holy cow!
Yeah.
It was a transformation, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, me, I think I've lost 69 pounds since August.
That's amazing.
So I know just the times you don't want to do it,
Yeah.
and it's motivation's cool, but it's when the motivation runs out. Like it's all about the discipline. Like what is
It
that?
is.
What have you learned about yourself in those moments where you
Oh,
just don't want to
definitely.
do?
Definitely. So, it does start with the passion. Bodybuilding in itself was always my passion. And so the working out portion has never been hard for me. If anything, I'm the opposite. I hate missing. I can't stand missing the gym or missing a workout. But the part that was difficult was my relationship with food. And you
Mine
grow up and
too.
you love food. You just like food.
Yeah.
And you really have to learn and reprogram, and it's not just about the goal, but it is really about who you become in the process. And it shows you so many things. How do you plan? Do you plan for things? How do you set yourself up for success tomorrow? How do you also plan for possible pitfalls tomorrow? Because if I know I'm going to be here, there, and there, and
I have time.
I'm going to get hungry,
Yeah.
and the moment I get hungry and I don't have the food available that I'm supposed to eat, I'm going to eat whatever's available.
Yeah.
And now keep in mind, that's like a analogy for life too, if you really think
Yeah.
about it, not to get too deep into that, you know what I mean? But if you don't prepare, and you don't set a standard for yourself, you're going to accept whatever else is
Or you just
around and given
I
to
messed
you
up one day,
when you're
so,
when you're
yeah.
in desperation or when you're hungry, and so you do hit those but I learned, I'd rush out the door, and we'd go here and be gone all day, and it's like, I don't have my food, I didn't prepare. And then you're starving and you're hungry, and you have to eat whatever's around you, and it's not what's on your plan. And so it really teaches you how to, if there is something that you really truly want, you need to dig deep. And it dispels all of the excuses that you can make. I don't have time. It
Make
shows
time.
you how to make time, especially when I had to do 2-a-days. I had to work early in the morning and early shifts. So I had to go do my first morning workout prior to work, go, make sure the night before, make sure all my food was made. So that way I can work
God, those
during the
excuses.
day and then get back to my workout at night.
Yeah.
No matter how tired you are, no matter what,
Yeah.
like the night before, I'm tired. I just want to sit on the couch. But I know that to have a successful day tomorrow, I've got to have my meals prepped. I've got to have my backpack ready to go for the gym, my supplements, my pre-workout, my gym clothes, what I'm going to wear afterward, all of that stuff. It shows you how to stop making it
Excuses.
forces you to stop making excuses.
So we walk every morning from 4 to 4:30 in the morning. We walk about 6.5 miles every morning. And it's not the walk that's the challenge. I mean, walking's easy. I mean, it's not really easy, but because we put on 40-pound vests, because at first it got too easy. We're like, okay, well, how can we change this up? But it's the waking up at 4 or 3:30, 4 in the morning, like every morning. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we do that, like, but it's also that fasted cardio. You have nothing in your body, no water, no food, no nothing, and it's just like, all right, like, here we go, like,
And you dig deep, right?
Yep.
You're hungry, you're
dig
tired.
deep. Yeah, you're like, man, like, I could just go for whatever. And I mean, we walk by Blake's and Denny's, and you're like, dang, I'm pretty hungry right now. But it's that, especially like for me, I hit a plateau where I was like, I wasn't losing no weight, and I was just like, all right, what are we really doing here? Like, I think I lost.
What's the next level?
Yeah, I think I lost like 30 pounds, and I was like, all right, this is cool, but like, what's the next level? And it's like, Rob was like, all right, well, what are you eating? How much water are you drinking? So I started eating better. I lost another 10, plateaued, and then Rob was like, all right, well, how much water? Drink more water. And I was like, bro, that don't even make sense. Like, what do you mean drink more water? He's like, just trust me, right? Just drink more water. Drink a gallon and a half a day. And sure enough, after that, the water, it just started falling off. And so, but what I've learned in those moments is just to be disciplined and to stick to the script.
Yeah.
Right? Like just it sucks. It sucks in those moments. It sucks, especially
Yeah.
like
It's doing
we
all
were
the
out there
unsexy
walking
stuff.
that 6-degree weather. You know what I mean? Like cold, like hoodie, ski mask, like the whole 9 yards, and it sucks, right? And you're like, bro, I could be in bed, cuddly right now,
Yeah.
like, and yet here I am,
Yeah.
stupid, you know.
Yeah.
But as you start to see those results, and as everything starts to fall in place, you're like, oh, okay, like this is working. Like
Yeah.
that's what's the next move? What's the next goal? How do we tweak this?
And
How
it
do we
drives
make
you
this better?
further, right?
Yeah.
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 So, well, where can people find you on social media? Where can they hear, you know, your I
On
don't know if you
social
know your
media,
handle.
on Instagram and Facebook, my name is Amanda Divina. That's my first and middle name. And my handle is I am worthy and divine. I chose that handle and for a future podcast too. But I am worthy and divine. So I took the meanings of my name. So Amanda meaning worthy of love, and Divina is divine in Spanish.
Fine. Wow. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
some.
My dad knew what he was doing.
Yeah, for sure. No, he definitely did. Well, I appreciate you for being on. And is your competition going to be here, or is
It'll
it,
be here in
yeah.
New Mexico at Route 66 Casino,
Well,
November 21st.
definitely let Rob and I know when it gets closer,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely go and support you.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, as always, I mean, I appreciate you. I appreciate your story. Again, this was a long time.
And same. Yeah.
You have anything you want to say to people? You have anything any closing words, a message that people want to hear? You can look at that camera right there. That's your camera. So
That's a rough one. What do I have to say?
I know I just dropped it on you, but I wanted to come from the
Yeah.
soul.
What I would have to say is, no matter what, just turn to God. Even when you don't think it's going to work out, even if you don't think you can talk to him, even if you feel like you've been distant from him and you feel like maybe he wouldn't listen to you, why would he talk to me? Why would he listen to me? He is always there. And, you know, if you were to read the book of Psalms, it's kind of a bunch of different, you know, one minute it's praise and then it's happy and then it's sad and crying and suffering. And I really think that that's a great example of just our human experience with God. And we can come to him we can go to him and say, I'm mad at you, or I'm happy with you, or thank
100%,
you.
yeah.
You know, it's a real, true relationship. So you can throw out all the formal stuff, you know, if it's just to get to know him. And because he really, truly does guide you in your life. He really does fill you with his spirit and teach you his ways. And he helps you navigate through life and speaks to you, speaks life into your situations and provides for you. And there's not a single moment in time, there's not a single circumstance or hardship where he didn't make the way to pull me out.
Yeah.
Not a single one. So when I feel afraid of a situation, rather than thinking of, here's the thing, you can look at your life and you can either view it as, look at all of the bad things I've been through, or you can look at it as, look at all of the things God got me through. So it's evidence of how he's actually been there pulling me
worked through
through.
it.
Yeah.
I think it's like the buffalo analogy where you know all the other animals run away from the storm and the buffalo runs into the storm. And I think with God behind you, it's easy to run into the storm because you're like, all right, what does this teach me?
Yeah, exactly. You learn to run to the
Yeah.
storm. Yeah.
So I think, I mean, to wrap it up and to sum up that is, if God's telling you to be still, listen.
Yeah.
If he's telling you to take action, jump.
Jump. Even if you don't know what
Yeah.
comes next, that's what he wants you to do.
Amen. I agree with that. Well, we are chosen to change. You have the moment to change too. We'll see you guys next week.